Yeah, so I said to the waitress, like, nah, put 2 lemons in my sweet tea, not one. So yeah, I made her send it back. Hold on, I gotta call you back. I gotta do this video real quick. Yeah, all right. What's going on, everybody? This is Brandon Furrowh, and we're back at it again with tips for professionalism. So what I want to talk to you about today is technology etiquette. We're going to talk about how to use your technology and how not to use your technology on the job. We have cell phones and laptops and recording equipment, and you could actually literally record your own YouTube series from your cell phone at your house. How wild is that? Technology today has made us our own publishers of our own information, and that's an incredible time to be in. However, when it comes to technology and using technology on the job, you have to be mindful to still do your job. This could include putting your personal technology away while you're working, or also how to respond appropriately to emails. So, what I've designed today is a few tips on how to use technology appropriately at work. You don't want to be the employee that's always on the phone. And if you're on the phone, hopefully it's the phone that you're using to make phone calls for work and not for your personal business. So what I've designed today is just a few tips on how to use technology appropriately on the job. My very first tip is to put the task before the technology. On the job, you may be given several things to do. For instance, if you work with kids, you may be responsible for monitoring their behavior, giving them their food, taking out the trash. If you're doing that, make sure that you're not on the phone as you're monitoring the kids. You just may miss something. Or let's say you're working at a fast food restaurant. Even if business is a little slow, when a customer walks into your business, you want to be able to give them your undivided attention so that they will have the best experience possible. If you're on your phone when a customer walks in, they may think that they're not much of a priority and may judge you on your work ethic. When you put the task before the technology, what you're demonstrating is your capacity to focus on the task at hand before thinking about your own personal needs. And that looks great to the supervisor. Yes, it looks poorly when you are on your phone or listening to music loudly when you're supposed to be paying attention to your customer. So, on your job, you may receive a lot of different tasks. That's the job responsibilities. So when you do the job responsibilities, very seldom does it require for you to be on your phone. No, I get it. Your phone is your connection to the outside world. However, being so connected to the outside world may hurt you on the inside of your job. Whatever the task is, whether it's making phone calls for work or fulfilling another person's order, watching the kids, putting away books at the library, whatever your task is, put your technology aside and complete the task first. That shows that you're a dedicated worker and that you can prioritize your job over your personal desires. And if you neglect the task too often, then they may just find somebody else to do the task for you. So though technology is incredible and we love it and we enjoy it, there's just a time and a place for it. And on the job may not be the time or the place. When we think about etiquette, it's the way that we're supposed to behave in a certain environment. Think about your house. For some of our homes, you are supposed to take off your shoes as soon as you walk in the house. If you live by that rule, when somebody else comes into the house, you encourage them to do the same thing because you know that's the standard for the house. So if somebody walks through your house with shoes on, you know that is completely against the rules and it shouldn't be done. And so you encourage them to take their shoes off before they even walk through the house. With that said, when we think about etiquette on the job, there are certain manners that pertain to the professional atmosphere that we should work hard to uphold. When writing an appropriate email for your place of employment, one good thing to think about is writing it as if it's going to be shown to 1 million people. What would those people say about your email? How would they pick it apart? It's never a good idea to write an email in all caps. That makes someone feel as though that you're yelling at them. So, when writing an email, just keep the appropriate sentence grammar. In some cases, you may even have to write a letter to a customer. So, a couple good tips to consider when writing a letter to your supervisor, a coworker, or even a customer is to state the facts and leave the feelings out of it. When you're writing a letter or you're writing an email, make sure that you are stating what needs to be done and the timeline that it needs to be done in. It's kind of like using the SMART goals, being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-oriented. Try to follow those tips when writing an email to any one of the three that we've mentioned earlier. When writing an email, you want to be direct. You want to keep your feelings out of it. Try to make it sound as professional as possible. Whether you're accepting the job or sending in your letter of resignation, make sure that your email demonstrates your ability to separate the personal from the professional. My second tip is to let other people know that you're at work. When you let other people know that you're at work, then hopefully they'll respect that you can't really be on your phone while they're trying to have a long conversation. Be honest with other people and let them know, hey, I'm working right now and I can't talk. And you'll find that your true friends will respect that boundary. Even as an adult, I know when my close friends are able to talk and when they're not. And even if it's an emergency, I'm respecting their time enough to know what I have to say can wait. When you let other people know, hey, I'm at work, I can't talk right now, it gives them that opportunity to respect your current situation. Sometimes it's okay to not even respond or just wait until your break to send a text message back. But when you let other people know that you're at work, it gives them the opportunity to respect your current condition. If it ends up being an emergency from your close friends or family, they should know how to reach you at work. I'm pretty sure your job has a phone that they can call and let you know what's going on. And it happens. Life happens. However, this isn't about the anomalies. This is about going to work, making sure that you're practicing good professionalism skills. Let other people know that you're at work so that you can curb some of those things that people want to talk to you about. Oftentimes, when you set the standard for what you want your life to look like, other people will either have to rise to that standard or fall off. And for those people who fall off, let them do that. Oftentimes, you can set a standard for your life of what you want things to look like. And people have the option of either rising to that challenge or falling off and saying, I can't do it. And for those people who don't show you the respect and the courtesy that you deserve, let them go. Change their capacity so that they're not interfering with what your goals are. And for those people who don't respect your standards, change their capacity so that they have less of an opportunity to get to you. Change their importance level in your life so that they have less of a chance to get to you in a negative way. This is about establishing a set of standards that works so well for you that it becomes second nature for you to do. I understand that being away from technology can sometimes be pretty hard. So if you need to make a phone call or send a text message, then ask to take a break in a private area so that you can do so. So my third tip is for you to ask to take a break in a private area. It's in those secluded areas where it's okay to wear your AirPods or to text or to make a phone call. But in a public place in front of the customers, it's not appropriate. I can recall a few times that I've gone to a grocery store or a business and I've encountered someone who was supposed to be taking care of me, the customer, and they were on their phones. I understand that everyone has a different level of professionalism, but a good rule of thumb across the board is to make sure that you're paying your customer attention. And you just can't always do that if you're on the phone or you're talking or you are distracted somehow. Save your conversations for an area that's secluded. Save your personal business for a personal area. Because the truth is, I don't want to know your business as a customer. As a customer, I just want to get the product. I want to have a good experience in your store or your establishment, and I want to be able to keep it moving. You don't want your supervisor to receive an email later on down the line saying that you were completely inattentive. I can't tell you how many organizations put out memos and emails and notices about cell phone usage or use of technology in the workplace. Some places even have a policy on cell phone usage. So make sure that if you're getting a job or you're just starting to work there, that you pay attention to that cell phone policy or that technology usage policy, because that's what they'll use to either let you know that you're doing a good job or let you know that you're not following the policy. There's nothing wrong with being transparent about needing to take a quick break in order to take care of something personal. Everyone has personal things going on in their lives, but it's important not to let your personal life consume your professional life. So take a break and show that your personal life is not going to overwhelm your professional life, that you're still here to do a job and that you can do it well, but you're human. My fourth tip is to be aware of the public image that you are displaying. What does it look like when a customer walks through the doors and they see you on your phone or playing music loudly from your phone? How do you think it makes them feel? It's not just the uniform that shows that you represent a company, but it's also the way that you act. How can you demonstrate to other people that you're going to represent this company well with your speech, with your attentiveness, and with the way that you care? How would you rate your ability to represent the company? It's always a good rule of thumb to be aware of what you look like and how you're representing the company. And it's not just about the way that you're dressed or the way that you speak, but it's also in the things that you do. Good professionalism is about good eye contact, clear speech, in some cases, firm handshakes, or just the attentiveness of the task and the responsibility. I want you to imagine, what would it look like if you went into a building with your hard-earned money to receive a good service, and instead you were ignored or given subpar service because the employee thought that it was more important to be on his or her phone rather than pay you attention? How do you think your supervisor would respond to that? What do you think your chances are of advancing in that company if the basic task you can't do because you're too busy, distracted with technology? Again, save your private conversations for your private locations. When you think about being considerate of the public image that you're setting for the company, I want you to be mindful of what the customers are seeing when they walk into the building, when they're in the building, and as they're leaving the building. How did you contribute to their experience with the company. Is that customer likely to come back? Or is that customer willing to take their money somewhere else? Or is that customer willing to take their money somewhere else because if this is what the company stands for, I'd rather go somewhere to get good service. If you received your favorite meal on a dirty plate, you're likely to toss the entire meal out, no matter how much you love that meal. And it's because the delivery wasn't that great. So even if you're working at an establishment where the product is really good, your service, if it's poor, thoughtless, and inattentive, can turn people away. They could choose to never come back because of the experience that you gave them. So be considerate of the public image that you're setting. You're not just there to get a paycheck. You also have this responsibility to represent the company. And if you're doing it the right way, then you are less distracted with technology and more focused on the customers and their experience. My final tip for today is for you to prioritize essential over non-essential communication. Communicating with your ride what time they need to pick you up could be essential. Communicating with someone that you're interested in about what time you want to see them later could wait until break time. The truth is, there are certain communications that's important to have. And sometimes your work schedule may seem like it's getting in the way of having some important communication. However, who's sliding into your DMs at this time can wait. Those messages can wait until you get home or until you go on break. And even if it looks like you're pretty bored at work, take the time to respect the organization enough to say it can wait. I want you to develop this habit of prioritizing essential over non-essential communication. There are certain things that just can wait until later to talk about, but there are certain things that may be very time sensitive. And understanding the sensitivity of the matter and understanding the severity of the matter, you can make a phone call in a private area or send a text message in a secluded area that's away from the customers and sometimes even your teammates. But understand what's important versus what's not important. And that's just about the level of impact. Who does this phone call impact? Does it impact your ability to get a ride home? Does it impact your ability to have a place to live? Does it impact your money? All right, so let's cut straight to it. Sometimes you could add to the drama by just simply responding. And so when you think about the drama that comes up while you're at work, how are you helping the situation? Are you helping the situation by responding to it? Or could you give it some breathing room and say, now's not the time to respond? Drama is pretty much in that non-essential category. So you don't really need to respond to what's going on at the time. Let it sit, let it marinate, and handle your business on your job. Now I get it. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes you're just going to want to reach out to someone because you're thinking about them. Or sometimes it's on your mind, so you just have to do it right then and there. What I want to encourage you to do is just use good judgment. Think about the timing, think about the place, think about the public perception, and consider all those things as it relates to you and your employment at the company. In all reality, it's no one else's responsibility to consider your need to decompress and cope using technology. If you're getting paid to do a job, then do the job and do it well. And sometimes That's going to call for you to leave your technology to the side and focus on the task at hand. I know that we love technology, and sometimes the technology that we have is a status symbol. You know, like those AirPods you have, or the new iPhone. We know that these items cost quite a bit of money, but don't prioritize stunting on everyone else with your new technology and allow it to cost you the focus on your job. Having your AirPods in while you're dealing with a customer seems very irresponsible. I remember one time, not too long ago, I was working with a summer camp and we had a bus driver who was driving us from one location to another. Well, I received a phone call that we needed to turn around and take a kid back to the camp. I tried to say something to the bus driver without physically distracting her and getting us all in an accident, but she had her AirPods in and couldn't hear a word I was saying. She ended up being very upset when she realized that she was going to be behind schedule now because she had to turn around. In this scenario, we were the customers and she was representing a company. I don't think she represented that company well. And having her AirPods in may have been her way to decompress, but it ended up putting us on a detour from our journey. So what do we take from this story? That sometimes it's not about what you want to experience in the moment, but what you have to do to accomplish the task for the day. It's about removing the barriers that will distract you from being the best version of yourself. It really is a good practice to separate what's important from what's not important, what's needed to be done now versus what can wait for later. And it's really up to you to make that decision, but choose wisely. So let's recap. Tip number 1 for technology etiquette is to put the task before the technology. Think about what you have to do before you think about what you want to use or who do you want to respond to. Tip number 2, let other people know that you're at work. That sets a standard that other people have to adhere to. Tip number 3, when you need to, ask to take a break in a private area. Remember, your private conversations are for your private locations. Tip number 4, be considerate of the public image you are presenting. What will the customers see when they see you? What experience have you given them as the employee of the company? Tip number 5, prioritize essential versus non-essential communication. What needs to be responded to right away and what can wait until after you get off of work? Again, it is my hopes that you will listen to these tips and it will make you a better professional in the workforce. Until next time, be kind, be considerate, and be encouraged.